PepperCreek Revival is a collective of musicians from Melbourne who each have quite a pedigree, and together they are creating music that draws on blues, country, folk, roots, and rock. The band was founded by producer and bass player Barry Hills and features singer-songwriter Kelly Auty on lead vocals, and both of them are here to talk about the band and about themselves because they have fascinating musical pasts. Hello, Barry, and hello, Kelly.
Hello, how you going, Sophie? Thank
Very
you.
well, thank you. And yeah, you both have this incredible rich musical history. So I do want to ask a bit about, and Barry, I'll start with you and a bit of your history, which began in a brass band when you were 8. And I would like to know, which instrument did you play in that brass band?
Well, actually, I started on baritone, but I ended up on euphonium. So, and the problem was, it's quite a large instrument, and people used to give me more money at Christmas time when I was playing Christmas carols, because the instrument was actually bigger than me. So I used to make extra money. Yeah.
People thought he's putting in the hard yards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So at which stage did you switch from brass to blues?
Oh, that was a long journey. So I ended up going through country music, cabaret, and in being from Tasmania, you actually we ended up backing a lot of cabaret artists, the Sheik from Scrubby Creek, Lee Kernaghan,
Right.
and yeah, and Ray Kernaghan. And we actually played with Ray Kernaghan when Ray was actually touring with his a jet truck around Tasmania. So so country music, Anne Kirkpatrick,
Mhm.
Jean Stafford. I was in her backing band for a while. So that's so that the and when you're in Tasmania, you actually get a um, music wise, you don't hear a lot, but it's playing in the country band. We're hearing Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Graham Parsons, Eagles, and then the full on country like Ronnie Millsap. So there was a variety of backgrounds, and this is in the country music scene. The blues was a voodoo. You don't people in the country music scene in my area. It was never the twain would meet.
Right.
And the funny part is, one day, Phil Manning, who comes from my hometown in Devonport in Tasmania, dropped into a country western jam session. The pedal steel player Wayne Appleby, we worked with Gene. We ended up jamming for an hour and a half, playing blues, country, jazz, country rock, and it was one long jam, and people were just going, "Wow!" And that was when that crossover actually happened, and because I'd worked with Phil's brother Dennis, who's a keyboard player in Tasmania. So and then so I started being taught blues from on because I had to leave country music. I couldn't play the two at the same time.
Yeah. It's
So yeah, there was it's weird. So I end up we end up being a backing band for Phil Manning when he come over to Tasmania playing blues, and that's how I started playing blues in Tasmania. Yeah.
Well, you've become so adept at playing the blues that in 2022, Blues Music Victoria inducted you into the Hall of Fame. Now, I'm hoping that that came along with a nice little statuette for your mantelpiece or something that you get to
It
look at.
did. It did. Actually, Sophie, yeah, it did. But that was when I arrived in Melbourne, after I arrived in Melbourne in 1984 from Tasmania. So, and I'd sort of, well, I joined Dutch Tildes and his band the first night I was in Melbourne. So, and the bass player in Melbourne, I'd been playing blues with him in Tasmania, and he said, Barry, Peter Howe, and he said, "What are you doing in Melbourne?" I said, "I've just arrived." He said, "Dutch Tildes, this is your new bass player." And he was off, and Peter was off to Adelaide, so he was off to moving. So that's how my blues started in Melbourne. And through that, we ended up producing Dutch's albums, Real Australian Blues, Volume 1 to 4, and various bands that I was producing. Yeah, so it was sort of like, and Melbourne Blues Appreciation Society. I got, you know, it, I never planned all this. This
Right.
was this just happened, and most of my life things just happened. So and it was lovely being recognised for the amount of work I did, but I didn't do it for that reason at all. Yeah.
Think that's possibly why you ended up getting the recognition, because it clearly comes from a place of passion, and no doubt blues is also how you met Kelly. So Kelly, your background is as a blues singer, but I'm curious about when you started singing, if that was the genre that just fit your voice, or were you singing a whole range of things?
When I was a very small child, I lived in Kununurra, and my parents had an incredible record collection, folk music, old blues, South African music, people like Miriam Makeba, Odetta. So the first music I ever heard was very earthy, very grounded, probably, yes, you would say blues, roots music, folk music. When I was 15 in Melbourne, my father put me into the church choir because he said, you go there and you learn how to sing. And the very first vinyl that I was ever on was a copy of The Messiah that we made in the church choir. Then when I was 17, we were living in Canberra, and my father took me for an audition for the Canberra Opera Society. And I got into the chorus, and I worked in the Opera Society for probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And I got a scholarship at the School of Music to work with a Welsh tenor called David Parker. And he was quite the incredible singer and teacher. And that's where I got all my grounding in singing, and knowing how to sing.
Mm.
Then it was a same as with Barry. I didn't plan it. I ended up doing musical theatre. Like I said, I worked in the opera for a couple of years. My 2 sons were born by the time I was 24, so I was a full-time mum and a part-time singer. And I consider myself very lucky there that I got to have my beautiful children. A lot of my peers waited and then ended up not having the family. We moved to Queensland when the boys were little, and I met Rick Kent, who was my manager up there, and worked with him, and in the country music scene mostly, did a lot of jingles, a lot of recording, backing vocals, worked with a bunch of different bands. I was sort of like a hired singer with other people's bands because, of course, I had my little boys to look after. Moved to Melbourne in 1989, and one of the first places I went to was the Melbourne Blues Appreciation Society, where they were doing their jams, and I met Barry and Dutch and all this incredible crew of people back then, and started singing in the blues scene, and worked with a variety of different bands once again, made some recordings, independent albums, started seriously songwriting. I never had the confidence before that to write songs. I'm primarily a lyricist, and realized that I had studied literature at university, and so it's been a real patchwork. I've never classed myself as any particular type of singer. I just love to sing and I love to entertain, and I learned a lot about stagecraft from touring with the Drifters and the Platters when I was living up in Queensland. Touring with them, I learned so much about being on stage, about finding my right place on stage, I suppose. And now I don't sit down to write any particular style of song. I can give it the band PepperCreek Revival will bring a piece of music. Someone will bring a piece of music, and I'll be inspired by it, and look through one of my many scratchings in my journals, and I'll find something that resonates, or I'll start something new. And I sort of get out of my own way and let the lyrics come. And that's how a lot of the songs with this particular album happened. But I joined PepperCreek Revival because after COVID, I wasn't sure where I fitted anymore. Before COVID, I went to Memphis with the Kelly's Blues with my old band, Boris Connolly, Nick Carrafa, and Max McIntosh. We had a great time in Memphis at the International Blues Challenge, and we got into the semi-finals, which was a thrill. We made an album to take over there with us. But after that, everything quietened down, and of course, COVID put the brakes on everything. I wrote a kid's story during that time, during that year. It's got singing, dancing animals and some children having an adventure. So next year I'm focusing on getting that out into the universe. And after COVID, Barry and I were having a conversation, and he asked me what I was doing, and I said, I don't really know what's next. And I went and had a jam with what would become PepperCreek Revival, and here we are. You just go with the flow. You just got to go with the muse, go with the flow, see what is offered up to you, and we'll see where it takes us next. Pretty exciting. I love the album. I love the band. I think they're just great. Yeah.
And you've done a lot of my work for me, Kelly, because I had questions about songwriting process and all sorts of things.
Yeah, just press go and I'll just talk.
It's great. It's great because it's a whole thing of going with the flow. And so what I'm interested with both of you is that Barry, you were talking about having a background in cabaret. Kelly, you've had a background in musical theatre and also in opera, and talking about stagecraft. It is such an important part of performance. And I think just being a complete performer, but because it's invisible in terms of the mechanics, or the audience knows when it's being done well because they can sense it, and they know when it's not being done well because they can sense it, but it's not like you can actually say, okay, well, it's XYZ. You obviously have to learn it through the doing of it.
And having 5 very experienced the band members who know their craft, so it makes everyone's life easy, much easier, and especially when we're come together with songwriting. And Kelly and I talked early last year that we wanted the songs to be to stand alone, each song. We didn't want a style. So each track was going to determine what the album was going to be like. So we didn't, and the beauty is that's what we sound like live. That they aren't made up sounds to make it for an album. So they're actually working really well. So we're really happy about that because it's a mixture of songs on that album. So and the feedback we've had is just it's different. Everything's different on this, which is what we both set out to do, to be different.
The songs are all different, but the thing that draws them all together into this same beautiful picture is the playing of the musicians, the way they approach the music. I love to buy someone's album and then play the first track and then think, oh, what's next? Oh, what's next? I look for the adventure in the music. I don't want an album that is predictable to me. And the only thing like this, it's not even predictable with this, because Roland can pick up and play the mandolin, and then the electric guitar, and then we'll have Brian will play the pedals, the lap steel, and then the acoustic guitar, and Nick with the percussion and the drums. And also Nick Carrafa, the drummer, and I've worked together a lot over the years, many years, and he and I sing really well together. We enjoy singing. So we've got on the album, there's a duet. And so we've approached the whole thing as a fresh new adventure, because after COVID, there was no set rule about what's going to happen next. We sort of all went with it, if you like. And that's why the album's so, to me, it's very refreshing and joyous. Yeah.
Yeah, what I hear on it too is So yes, the songs are all different, but what's common is that there's an ease in the playing of them. And initially I was thinking, like, the word that came to mind was, oh, it's a looseness. And I don't mean by that scrappiness, but I realized what I was trying to get at. The word I was probably trying to get at was breeziness, which comes from you all being so experienced, but also trusting each other and being in that space and actually able to just go with the flow. And that is a term I use as well, Kelly, is that sense of, okay, we have the structure here from our backgrounds, we're all really experienced players, and being able to trust each other with that, we can just float.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lovely feeling. It's just so much so, Sophie, we're actually talking about doing it again. So you know, because we all just enjoyed the process and the outcome of it. So it was so yeah. So it's but that's what we do. We're actually we challenge ourselves all the time.
Right.
If I had to put one word to it, I would say it's earthy.
Yeah.
To me, it's very earthy. It's very natural music. It's danceable, you know. You want to have a cry, a laugh, a dance, a sing. Well, check this album out because it really has. It's got the lot, but it's got a very earthy kind of sound to it.
Yeah.
It was all recorded very live.
Right.
We were all in the same space. We performed together like we were on stage, and that's the album has captured that, and that's what, to me, that's what makes it really very beautiful.
And the idea that, Barry, you just said you all like to challenge yourselves. It would be so tempting, I would think, once you've reached a certain level of accomplishment, to think, oh, you know, I'm good at this thing. I could just stay here. Like stasis is easier in a lot of ways, but it seems like either you've consciously decided to not just stay where you are, or whether it's part of your nature, or maybe you don't know now. Maybe you've been challenging yourselves for so long it has just become your nature.
Yeah. And we both of us are living in an unknown outcome world.
Yeah.
We actually dive in, and we don't know what's at the other end. It's quite it can be unsettling for some people, but when you're in the music industry, the whole music industry is unsettling. Just it can be unsettling, and there's no rules. There's no written rules, but the end product is that we enjoyed that. We were proud of what we did. And in 10 years' time, we'll be still proud of what we did. And we'll always want to be. We'll do the best when we at that moment in time. You know. Sure, it could have had the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra on one of the ballads, you know, but no, it's got to be earthy, it's got to be our class, and we wanted to just be us sound live, you know. We wanted the band didn't we didn't want to go to too many, you know, overdubs or so, but it's interesting. We've been talking recently, and everyone's got ideas. And when the ideas come in and then it's bounced, you have no idea where that's going to go. There was even I'm dreaming that to what that was in the rehearsal room, what had happened in the studio was two completely different songs.
Beyond my control.
Yeah. It just happened. It you know, the first take, it just went somewhere, and all of a sudden it went, really? And so we just went with it, you know, and you know, and we all felt good about it, and most people, and it was an unusual sound that out of all the other albums, and you know, we thought it was good enough to make a video and a single out of. So
let it be what it is.
Yeah,
let it be what it is. It's music. It's for me. I want it to be organic, and truthful, and like Barry was saying, to be proud of it in 10 years' time. To always be able to listen to that particular. Not that I listen to my own work very much. I don't. Once it's done, it's like it goes in its little pouch there, and I want other people to hear it, but I want to write the next song or the next story or the next I want to have the next jam. Where to now? Where should we go now? Music for me has to be an adventure. I don't cope well with doing the same thing over and over, which is why I didn't stay in theatre, if you like. I didn't stay in opera. I want to have an adventure. I think it was David Bowie said, if you're really comfortable where you're at, you probably need to get a bit more uncomfortable and push it to try something different, you know.
Well, and there's a quote attributed to the late Helen Keller, which is, "Life is a daring adventure, or it is nothing at all."
Yes. Well said, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe life is a daring adventure, or it is nothing. Maybe I added the "at all" bit, but that's, you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Kelly, as the lyricist, because you're through the songwriting credits, yours is the most consistent name. Like, you're on all the songs, and then the other credits vary. But I'm wondering, for you as the lyricist, you said that the band will bring you music, and you then write lyrics to it, and then you take that back to the band. You've talked about being open to change and everything. Is there always a bit of feedback from the band then, saying, on your lyrics, saying, well, actually, yeah, that's okay, but we would like to adjust that here? Or are the lyrics recorded pretty much as you wrote them?
Pretty much as I wrote them. I think that generally, that's an interesting question. That's a hard question. No,
Well,
I think the guys, I try to write to the music and to the sentiment of a hook, an idea. And Barry came into one rehearsal and he was singing a line, and I said, "Oh, what about, okay, I'm dreaming instead of I'm, and he went, "Oh yeah, that's good." So I want everyone to be comfortable with it, because we're all on stage playing these songs. I would be horrified to think that that one of the guitarists is going, "Oh no, I hope she's not going to say that again." So we're very honest with one another. We're all grown-ups. If there was something that didn't resonate or sit well with any of the guys, I know that they would say to me, "Oh, Kel, no, don't do that." It hasn't actually happened, has it? No. It's everyone is comfortable with the sentiments of the songs as they've come out. But also I write in a, not generic, but I try and write in a way that I hope a lot of people will relate to and feel comfortable with. I don't, I avoid getting angsty, or, I keep a lot of stuff to myself, basically, and I write to the feel of the music. So if it's an uplifting, like Sunshine in My Pocket, it's got that uplifting kind of, we need to have a lyric that sits with that. And that's the trick of writing lyrics, is to be able to feed into the feel of the music and try and write a lyric that suits us. But so far, no one in the band has said, "Oh my God, please don't sing that again." Or, "No, you need to change that." Now I have to ask them. But I think they're happy. I think, Barry.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I was just curious about the process, whether there was like any push and pull, because it is a collective, right? So it's not like there's it doesn't feel like there's from what you're all saying, what you're both saying, doesn't feel like there's a hierarchical structure there at all.
No, there's not. There's absolutely not. And most of these lyrics have come quite, not, I won't say easily, because the lyrics never an easy thing, but they have flowed with the feel of the band, and I'm very comfortable with what I've said on this album, what I've voiced, literally. Yeah.
Now, Barry, I should ask, where did the name of the band come from?
Well, it only appeared last August. I mean, that was, it was only so we was actually doing a video for the song Underneath a Pepper Tree.
Right.
It's not as exciting as we thought it was, but next to a creek.
Right.
But we wanted the name of the band to be a non-genre, to allow. And I've been watching Leon Russell, and he'd been doing being another Secession guy, and I love his music. And he had one of his bands, and I'm going to forget it, but new country revival or something like that. And he had all these people in the studio doing all these session people, and it was just we'd gone through the encyclopedia, we'd gone through Wikipedia, we'd gone through trying to work out what the name of the band was. So, and I said to Kel, it will happen one day, and it just happened within a day of oh yeah, this and this and this. So it all just come together, and so it's an and we've actually made it to be unusual as well. So that the PepperCreek is one word with a capital C. So yeah, well, yeah. So I hope you like it, Sophie. Yeah.
I do. Well, and also I'm a big believer in the rhythm of things, and the rhythm of the name is really nice. PepperCreek Revival, like it just kind of flows along. So I always think those names that have good rhythms are more memorable for people if they hear them. I'm also aware that for bands these days, because someone else told me this, it's really hard to get an original name because, of course, names can now exist in perpetuity on the internet. So, maybe 20 years ago, it wouldn't have mattered if there was a band in Canada with the same name. But these days, that band in Canada is going to be online. So if you happen to choose the same band name as someone, it's just you have to have a really unique name. So, it's tricky to come up with names.
Yes, it is. It is very hard. But there are similar sounding. But no, not with the revival. Actually, gave it that extra added thing, and it's registered, and we did a lot of research behind it. So
I've had people say to me, "So where is this PepperCreek?" I don't know.
In your imagination is the answer.
Yeah, where is it? Where were you driving when you saw that? Well, we weren't. That's quite interesting.
And you are allowed to make things up, of course. It's your prerogative. So talked about thinking about doing this again, which would be a great idea, obviously, to record. But are you playing anywhere live in the near future where people can see you?
I'm doing a duo show with Brian Fraser, who is one of the guitarists in the band at the Odeon in Richmond on Boxing Day. It's the Boxing Day barbecue. And then we've got a show at the Union Hotel on the 5th of January. And we're just easing into next year. It's been a very big year getting this album recorded, and that's what we were focusing on. And yeah, I think would be great for festivals. We're fun live. We're when I say we've got a couple of 100 years of experience on stage, so it's great fun. We'll see what the year offers us. Really, 2025, bring it on.
Well, I think it would be an incredibly rich experience to see you all live. And it's that amount, the 200 years of experience that you're talking about, that's significant. That means something. And I do think it's in music. It's in that the richness that's not overplayed, because it's, given how experienced you are individually, it would be tempting, I think, to try to throw everything with the kitchen sink in to show, you know what I mean? To show that you're experienced. You've all actually instead gone for strength and quiet confidence, and I think that's really evident in the music.
And that's very empowering too, to keep it, like we said, in the flow, and to keep it honest. It's just very honest, and I love that about it. It felt actually when we went in the studio and recorded this, I felt like I'd finished some kind of an apprenticeship, whereby I'd got to the point where I've always been comfortable in the studio. My favorite place in the universe is on stage. My second favorite place is in the studio. My third favorite place is sitting down reading a book. But I felt that after we'd recorded this, and we were also overjoyed listening back, going, wow, we did this. It felt like a coming home in a way, which is really a lovely way to feel after so many years in the industry. So bring it on. Let there be more, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Barry, did it feel like a coming home for you too?
I was only saying to someone the other day, I've always wanted to have my own band, and I mean, but I've always seemed to be leading bands anyway, from the bass side. But I always wanted to. I didn't want to know what if.
Mm-hmm.
I I'll give it a go, and I will not ever say what if. It's important it doesn't matter in life, anything you want to do, you never should never have that doubt for the rest of your life. What if? And we've all had different relationships and things like that, but what if? And it happens to all of us during our life. And musically, I don't like what ifs. And but you knew from the outset that this was going to be a great band, and that was a joy. That was a joy just to play with the band. This was way before the album started, so and so much so that we've all enjoyed it. So I'm quite proud of the members of the band, and being honest as well. So and they've enjoyed the journey with me, which makes it my life so much. Everyone's on the same page in this band. So sometimes you want to. It's just someone who wants to be a little bit further up than someone else. You have that. But we're on the same page. We're all very easygoing people, which is quite unusual to have in bands sometimes. But also when I selected people, I like people I can work with.
Yeah.
Because we've all known people that that they're all good for a short, and after that it's a bit of a chore to keep them under control. So and this is a nice, comfortable, but we're actually going to challenge each other again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and that's the beautiful part about that, challenging each other. And I know Roland's had already told me I've got a really good mandolin part, right? What does that mean? Anyway, so
I can't wait to hear that.
Yeah.
Bring it on. They're great, but I feel like when you're really working with a band of people, musicians and ensemble, it's great when it feels like family to me. And if you can be open and honest and real with each other, that's just going to help the music along so much. I want to hear this mandolin part.
Yeah.
Quickly. Bring it.
Well, I have the feeling I could talk to the two of you for hours and hours because there'll be so many stories. Unfortunately, I will have to leave it there because I've had you talking for a while. But I think that sense of family and that joy of playing with each other really comes across on the album. So I will put links in the show notes for people to find it on Bandcamp and on your website. And they can catch you live. I'll mention those dates as well. But Barry and Kelly from PepperCreek Revival, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Sophie.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Have a lovely festive season. Stay safe and happy.